In The Sopranos, mob boss Tony Soprano must navigate life as the boss of a criminal family whilst also taking care of his real family. Tony is pretty introspective, as shown with his therapy sessions, and though he can be surrounded by intelligent people from time to time, such as the criminal mastermind Benny Fazio, often Tony finds himself floating amid an ocean of idiocy. Today I wanted to count down the top 8 dumbest decisions made by characters in the show. Let me know what your own list looks like down in the comment section below. At number 8, Beansy not placating to Richie. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, so let's be fair to Beansy here. He tried to be brave, tried to avoid getting shaken down, and thought Richie couldn't touch him because he had Tony in his corner. Plus, Richie probably had it in for Beansy no matter how he handled the situation. But given he knows Richie, he knows what Richie is like, and squaring up to the guy doesn't seem like the smartest thing in retrospect. Maybe he could have set up a payment scheme with Richie, and as soon as he was gone, go to Tony and try to get him off his back, similar to what Hesh did in season 1 when Junior was overtaxing him. Obviously, Beansy didn't know this would happen, but Richie was dead just a short while later. So had he paid up, Richie would eventually be dead anyway, and Beansy would still be walking today. Number 7. Paulie telling Johnny Sack about the joke. When Ralph makes a joke about Ginny's ass, Paulie rushes to tell Johnny as he's frustrated with his treatment by the guys while he's in the can, plus he hates Ralph and is jealous of his success. Paulie isn't intelligent enough to see the bigger picture, and is dumb enough to be manipulated by Sack to give him information about Jersey, but in this instance, he clearly knew that Sack would become irate, but who's to say it wouldn't come back to bite Paulie? Johnny and Tony are on good terms. He could have easily told Tony who told him, something Tony pushed for during one of the sit-downs. Just because he got a bit petty, he almost got himself killed, and he massively derailed the relationship between New York, the card game robbery gone wrong, or the robbery itself. But I don't think the robbery was an utterly brain-dead decision in of itself. Jackie just failed to see the difference in context when his father did it, and the execution was terrible. They were on drugs and shot at made men. These two plonkers though, what on earth were they thinking? Why did they assume that Richie would want Christopher dead and they would go running to him for protection, when Richie's going out of the way to look spick and clean in Tony's eyes? Chris is the boss's nephew, you utter weak-minded fool. How do you expect to get away with that? Even the execution, they just rolled up on him in broad daylight from the window of a moving car like they've just watched Boys in the Hood, and they failed to kill Chris anyway when it's all said and done. No, because then we're in the territory of addictions or people acting highly emotional and not thinking rationally. So maybe this shouldn't count, because that animal Blundetto was angry and frustrated leading up to when he flipped and just went to town on Kim. But for a character whose intelligence is often brought up, Tony B sure was a dumb guy. Some things we can chalk up to his temperament, like when he went after Billy and Phil Leotardo. But even that wasn't a spur of the moment thing. He planned it and was aware he would do it even when Tony went to visit him. He fails to kill Phil, who's the bigger problem of the two brothers. He takes the Joey Peeps contract when Tony didn't want his family involved in Lupertazzi affairs. He spends most of the cash he finds, and he gets his foot run over during the hit, meaning he's easily identifiable. He's kinda dumb, isn't he? Of course, a lot of this stems from him wanting to be on the straight and narrow, and seeing the mob guys around him live easy lives, raking in the cash. It has an effect on him. His kids make comments about the wealth they have versus what Tony Soprano's kids have, so there is a bit of empathy you can feel for him. But that's why beating up Mr. Kim was so stupid. He was just about there. He almost made it. He just passed his exam, and the spar was almost ready, and he throws it all away to get back in the game. Number 4. Aid not bringing a lawyer or not telling Chris. Adriana proved a few times she's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but surely as the girlfriend of a gangster she should have been trained in how to deal with the cops if you get picked up, or have previous experience with getting picked up. Why didn't she demand a lawyer present? Why wasn't she wise to the FBI's games and manipulation? Why did she think she would go down for 25 to life for a bit of coke? Why didn't she tell Chris? She just swallowed whatever the feds gave her and then puked it out all over the sun visor. I know she was scared and she was probably too afraid to go to Chris when the FBI mentioned that she brought a Fed to Tony Soprano's home, but Aide displayed an incredible amount of naivety in this storyline. Number 3. Fat Dom cracks jokes about Vito to Silvio and Carlo. This guy must be one of the dumbest mobsters in the Sopranos universe. A soldier from New York, he comes to Jersey to give Sil money he's owed. This is shortly after Vito, outed as an ass muncher, was killed by Phil in New York. In fact, Fat Dom was actually there, beating on Vito as hard as Vito beat off that security guard. So there's clearly going to be tension. Fat Dom greets the duo, says he can't stay to eat but sits down anyway after saying he's in a hurry, and subsequently decides to start seeing just how much he can piss off two made guys, one a consigliere and the other, well, we all know what he thought about Vito and his blood pressure medication. He makes one crack, then another, and can we really blame Silvio, who already tried to mitigate the situation by lessening the impact of Dom's jokes and then politely suggesting Dom should leave, for smacking the parade float upside the head? He even said what he said, got away with it, and then he starts again. Can't he see that Carlo has turned around and wiped his hands, getting ready for attack mode? Carlo is furious. He makes a crack about Dom's mother, and this is the face Dom makes as a follow-up. He just did not read the room. Even then, Silvio tries to get Dom to leave. The guy practically had a death wish. Was he practicing all his jokes in the car on the way to Jersey, laughing to himself and congratulating himself on his comedic genius? The man got about 4 or 5 jokes in, clean and easy. He should have quit while he was ahead. I think he actually got offended towards the end too. The crack about Carlo's lipstick was made after Carlo mentioned Dom's mother, and by this point Dom isn't smiling, and I think he's actually offended, which is why he raised his level of insult. Of course, we do have to be fair, and in the proper context, Dom's actions weren't that stupid. He just went beyond what he could have gotten away with. First of all, he's a made guy, and a made guy cannot be touched, so he has no reason to think he's going to get physically attacked by Silvio and then straight up shanked by Carlo. Secondly, it's supposed to highlight the attitude of New York to Jersey, how they feel they can do what they want and spit in Jersey's face while they do so. Dom walked in with the swagger and arrogance of a king in a room with 2 paupers. But is it possible even that Phil suspected Jersey might want to counter the murder of Vito, so he sent Dom as a sacrificial lamb? Probably not, and it's simply a showcase of the Lupatazi's attitude to the DeMeo family, seeing them as a glorified crew. Number 2. Coco harassing Meadow. Amid the New York-New Jersey tensions of Season 6, New York mobster Coco decides it would be a banger of an idea to randomly go up to Tony's daughter and make creepy, inappropriate comments. The reasoning is pretty much the same as what Fat Dom did. He looks down on Jersey, sees an opportunity to get one over the glorified crew, and knows or thinks he'll get away with it. And had Albie not mentioned Coco's name, which Meadow relays to her father, maybe he would have gotten away with it. But what Coco did was way worse than Fat Dom's shenanigans. He harasses and makes sexual comments to a mob boss's daughter. Did he really think it wasn't going to come back to bite him? Well, he'll never bite anything again after getting curb stomped by Tony. And why even do it? She doesn't know what's going on in the mob world. She's a civilian. She's out of the game. What he did was way below the belt. The comments he made were so disgusting that as the audience, we see a man get curb stomped. And most of us are on the side of the guy doing the curb stomping, not the victim. Families, daughters especially, are off limits, and Coco was an absolute imbecile and got what was coming to him for not heeding to the red lines. Has Coco not read up on recent mob history? Where was he when Johnny Sack launched a crusade because someone made a single joke? Does he really think Tony would sit by idly and let this slide? Number 1. Vito Spatafore. Sticking with fat fucks not being able to keep their mouths shut, where do you begin with this guy? Catching, not pitching with the security guard at the place where he and other mobsters work, dressing up like the village people in a mob-affiliated bar in New York, skipping town when the claim is made against him, confirming his guilt, coming back to Jersey thinking there's still a life in the mob for him, all because he couldn't handle a morning of manual labor. Take your pick. Really, this entire video could be filled to the brim with decisions Vito made. His entire character was just blunder after blunder as soon as he was seen greasing the Union by Finn. It's difficult to sympathize with Vito, even with a pool cue sticking out of his ass, because he had ample opportunity to restart life away from the mob. Tony wasn't even bothered about finding him. but he opens the lion's mouth, sticks his head inside, and is shocked when it's slammed shut. So there you have it. What do you make of my list? And what does your own look like? Let me know down in the comment section below. And thanks for watching.